Hello, everyone. I am so excited today because I get a lot of questions around I do not have a network, or my network is not able to get me the opportunities that I want. So, if you are a director, if you're a VP, if you are a senior individual contributor, and your biggest complaint is that I'm not getting the opportunities that get me excited enough to leave my job, or I'm not getting exciting opportunities at the 200,000 plus mark, and your belief is that um, you need the right network to make that happen, I'm going to teach you today how to build a career that doesn't depend on who already knows you. Because isn't that annoying to actually feel that the only way you can progress in your career is if you knew the right people? And so, what I'm going to teach you today is how to create demand for your own value instead of waiting to constantly be recognized or feel you are at the mercy of your network. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. The hardest career moment is when your reputation starts traveling with you. And I see this with a lot of executives who have been in organizations for more than 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and they feel trapped within an organization because their belief is that if they leave their organization, they have to rebuild their reputation. And so here's the thing: when you leave that organization, and ultimately in this market, it can happen. You can get pushed out of that organization, you can go through a layoff, your company can go through a merger and acquisition, and you really need to not be at the mercy of that network. So, in that new company, you're not going to have a history with the hiring managers. You are going to be at a new level where you have to prove you already think at that next level. You may be in a new industry and your old credibility is not going to automatically transfer, or you may decide to go to a new country, whether you are new to the US, new to Canada. Your network may not travel with you. So, what do you do when you are in these situations? I have helped over 1,000 professionals, and a huge subset of that 1,000, I would say probably 60%, fit in these categories where they're either new to a country and they don't have an established network in that new country, or I have clients who have left their organization and they've spent so much time focusing on delivering outcomes that they haven't built a humongous network. Or you may already have an existing network, but that network may not be privy to the opportunities that you want to get. So, how do we solve this? Let's talk about that. Now, a lot of you, when you look at the people with the best careers, you think, of course, opportunities come to them. Look at their network. They have former bosses, they have recruiters, referrals, inbound roles. But what you're looking at is the result, not what they created. People are not born with a network, they have the skill to create a network. And so a network is just strangers who become believers, right? Think about the people you know, they were a stranger at some point. And the skill is to actually create those strangers into believers in your value and your ability. So to me, the network is not the advantage, it's your ability to build one. So, um, let's look at two people who did not wait for the right connection. Steve Jobs, at the age of 12, he looked up HP co-founder Bill Hewlett in the phone book and he called him for parts. You know, the HP founder? Yeah. He had never met him. And that is how he built a relationship with him. Think about Gary Burnison. After learning Korn Ferry's finance chief had left, Bernison cold called the CEO and asked for a meeting. He got the job in 2002 and became the CEO 5 years later. So a lot of these famous people that you might think, well, they know the right people, this is how they got these jobs, they learned the skill to be able to get into those rooms. I'm a perfect example of someone who did not have a network in order to build my business. A lot of businesses, they run based on referrals, but I actually built my own market from scratch. When I pivoted from corporate after 15 years, actually, none of the people that I worked with came to me. I got clients outside of that network. And how did I do it? Like, most of my clients didn't know me first. They found a post, a live, a podcast, and then they built that connection with me. So if I was able to do this and I was able to get a lot of strangers to become believers, then you can too. And how I did that is by getting them to is by understanding the problems that they need to solve, and then helping them see that I can help them create outcomes. And this is what you need to do. Okay, so these are some of my clients that I worked with who actually landed roles without a referral. And I'm going to give you two stories. One of my clients, Rashid, I helped him land at Amazon while he was still in Mexico. He did not have a network in Canada. He did not know anyone in Canada, let alone anyone at Amazon, and he landed there. After he worked at Amazon, he ended up at MongoDB. And actually, there were thousands of applicants that he had to compete with, and he ended up landing there. No insider relationship. He applied into a market where the hiring team had to decide whether they believed in his value or not. Another client of mine, Suleiman, he landed at Red Hat. He did not know anyone at Red Hat. In fact, Red Hat came to him and gave him the opportunity. Okay, so here's a thing that I want you to understand. Your experience is the product. Yes, it is the product, but your value proposition is why the market chooses it. So your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your networking conversations and interviews are different places the market encounters that value proposition. So someone might see your resume, or they might come across your LinkedIn profile, or someone in your network, they have a conversation with you, and this is how they learn about you. None of these single separate things are like the magic bullets, right? The magic bullet is the market understanding your value and trusting you. You're very welcome, Lewis. And yeah, Sunday evening, you know what? My AC is not working today, which really sucks. I really hope that it's temporary. Okay, the real test starts when nobody in the room knows you. So when people already know you, we have a tendency to become lazy when it comes to the skill of articulating our value. The thing is, when you're at an organization, your peers, they know the context, they remember the difficult decisions, they understand the politics you navigated, they fill in the blanks for you. This is why people feel a lot more comfortable getting promoted, because they don't feel as challenged, selling their value. Except that that's kind of silly, because it restricts you. It restricts you from growing your career. It restricts you from opportunities that could make you happier. Now, when you are a stranger to someone outside of your company, they see the resume, they hear a few answers, they make a fast judgment about your level, fit, and value, and there are no blanks filled in by them, because they don't have context, right? And this is why people struggle when it comes to selling themselves. And then what happens is that reality slaps you in the face, and you could be the same person with the same experience, with the same accomplishments, competing with someone else, but that person gets the opportunity and you don't. And then you start asking yourself, why am I getting more junior roles? Why did they say I wasn't strategic enough? Why am I not getting interviews? Or why am I getting interviews and no offers? Tell me in the chat why. The experience is the same. It did not disappear. The market is interpreting it differently. Seriously, like you can have two people with the same experience. One of them gets the role, one of them doesn't. You can even get someone with less experience than you getting the opportunity. But it's because the market interpreted their experience differently than yours. That is why they got the opportunity. So here's what happens when you encounter this. You start fixing the wrong things. You apply more volume. You rewrite your resume again and again and again and again, and you tweak it with AI. You try to upskill and you get another credential. You chase recruiters, more gatekeepers. You start networking randomly, sending random DMs, and you start saying all the wrong things. And you memorize answers to interviews instead of learning how to create demand for yourself and making yourself more marketable. The thing is, if you don't fix the underlying problem, which is you not knowing how to market yourself properly, it doesn't matter if you send a million resumes or network with a lot of people. If they don't understand your value correctly, then you're not going to get the right opportunities. Here's the thing. More experience won't fix a go-to market problem. And by the way, for those of you who are in product, you're going to love this because you understand what go-to market is. And if you think about your experience as a product, we need to learn how to go to the market with our experience, just like how we launch a product. And hold that thought because I'm going to explain what that means. If the market already misunderstands the value you have, another year of experience can simply give you another year of valuable experience to market badly. What I mean by that, let us say there's an amazing product out there. I don't know. Let's say this iPhone, right? It's an amazing product. It's amazing. It's great. It has all the best features. But if it is being marketed badly, okay, if the features are not communicated in a way that aligns with the buyer's needs, then it doesn't matter how amazing the features are. If the buyer doesn't understand what those features are and that they're valuable to them, they're not going to buy this phone, right? There could be a crappier phone in the market that is being marketed better and people are going to buy it. Obviously, iPhone, Apple, they're geniuses when it comes to marketing, and this is why we buy, the iPhone. But that's just the analogy that I wanted to give you, and the reason why you wonder why is someone else getting the role and not me. Here's the little thing that's going on right now in the market. I agree that the market is not as great as it used to be. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to get roles, right? And the thing is, we are shifting into a trend that you need to be entrepreneurial. The way companies hire, the way companies fire so fast, it's almost like they treat you as an entrepreneur and not an employee anymore. There's no such thing as an obligation to keep you and retain you as an employee. They see you as like an entrepreneur. If you're not giving us value, if we don't see you as a fit, we're going to get someone else. Okay? This is why it's important to drive your career like an entrepreneur. And if you really want to succeed, you don't want to act like an employee because employees wait to be recognized and entrepreneurs know how to constantly create demand. Okay? Think about any entrepreneur out there. Do they sit there and wait for jobs to come to them? or do they go and seek customers? They go seek customers, right? How do they seek customers? They have the skill to be able to do that. And if you want to be competitive in this market, if you want your career to be safe, you need to learn how to generate demand for yourself. You can be employed and you can absolutely run your career entrepreneurially. The question is not whether you have a job, the question is whether you know how to create demand for your value when the environment changes, when there are layoffs, when there is a recession. You need to learn how to continuously become competitive. Because if you don't, then you're going to be affected by the external environment, and that is not good. Okay? If you can't create demand for yourself, then you have to borrow someone else's, right? So your employer, you hope your boss recognizes you, sponsors you, and give you the next level. That's risky. Bosses leave. Bosses may not advocate for you. Bosses may not say the right things when you're not in the room. Your network, being at the mercy of your network is very dangerous. And I'm not saying you should not network. In fact, this whole thing is about building and expanding your network. But to just like depend on your existing network and not expand it is dangerous, because you can't just hope that someone you already know happens to know the right person, and even happens to know the right person with an opening at an organization. Recruiters hope they categorize you correctly and bring the right opportunities. Absolutely not. Recruiters need to understand your value, and if they don't, they're not going to bring you the right opportunities. Job boards hoping an algorithm and a stranger interprets your resume correctly. So in every version of this, someone else controls your opportunity supply. And so you need to learn to be the one who generates demand versus be at the mercy of all of these people. Okay. When a business generates demand, and this is important, I'm creating a comparison, right, between business versus what do you call it, professional, right? If you want to learn how to generate demand for yourself as a professional so that you keep climbing up the ladder and you get the best opportunities, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. You simply need to look at how businesses solve this with a go-to-market strategy. And the reason I know this is because I was a product leader for more than 15 years, and I have launched products, and I understand what a go-to-market strategy is. So let's talk about it. There are 6 elements to a go-to-market strategy. 1, you need to create market fit between you and what the market is looking for. 2, positioning. The market needs to understand your value. It compares you with other people. 3, packaging. How you package your skills so that someone sees them and recognizes that you are the best fit. Distribution. How do you get found, right? That's like traffic. Like a company, distribution is like, for example, ads, right? That's how like someone could find a product. Sales. Once they find you, how are you going to be able to convince them to buy? And if you think about it, they are buying your services. They're paying you a salary in exchange for the value that you bring to the table. And then the last thing is pricing. That's the salary that they're willing to give you. So all of these elements need to be in place when it comes to your job search. And the sad thing is when you talk to some career coaches or recruiters or whatever, or get advice from people, they only focus on one of these things and they overly simplify it. But the reality of me doing this for more than 6 years and helping more than 1,000 professionals land roles up to $300,000 plus, right, is you need to follow all of these steps in order for you to successfully move into a role that you love. So your career needs the same logic because you're not trying to be attractive to every employer. You're trying to create demand in the market where your experience has the highest value. Okay, so I want to show you how that translates to you as a professional. The first thing, which is what I talk about when it comes to market fit, I call it your sweet spot. So, your sweet spot is the intersection of what you're amazing at, what you love doing, and how does that basically align with what's out there in the market. You need to be clear on that. This isn't about titles necessarily. You know, when I work with my clients, we don't fixate on titles, we fixate on what is the in demand skill set that you bring to the table, that you execute better than anyone else, that is in demand. Okay? Once we figure that out, then we look into your positioning. How are you being valued? Like, what is the perception that hiring managers have of you? How do they compare you to other candidates? That's your positioning. Packaging. How are you packaging your skill set across the resume, across the LinkedIn profile? Reach. Who is finding you? Convert. Are you able to convert those conversations, those interviews into offers? And then negotiation, right? So when we talk about your career sweet spot, it is the same thing as market fit. What are you great at? Your strengths, your judgment, patterns of problems that you repeatedly solve. What do you want? What do you enjoy doing? What is the work scope, environment, and the problems that you love solving? Where are these skills valued? What are the types of roles, companies, and markets willing to pay for that combination? And we don't just look at, just willing to pay. We look at the highest possible salary that you can get, right? Because that's the whole point. You're trading your time. You need to be well compensated for it. You can't become the obvious choice until you decide what you want to be the obvious choice for. And this is the thing that people don't do well on their own, because it's very difficult to take a very complex career that is non-linear and boil it down to that sweet spot. And this is why my clients come to me, because I'm able to take all of that and connect the dots for them. Okay, this is even more important if you are a pivoter. If you are pivoting into product or out of product, or you're going to a product adjacent role, or not knowing how to translate your experience. Here's the thing. You could be in an industry for a very long time and that industry could be impacted. And what could happen is that you have valuable skills, but because that industry is dying, that career market fit is not there, because at the end of the day, like, okay, if there isn't enough demand for that skill, you need to go into a different market. And that's where a lot of my clients come to me, and then they become challenged because they don't know how to package their experience so that it translates to another market, so that it's valued, even though you're going to another market. Because the reality is, even if you are making a change, you're not always starting over. You still have valuable skills and experiences that could be an asset. I worked with basically a VP that came from retail and manufacturing, and she pivoted into financial services industry. They hired her and they wanted her even though she was coming from a different industry, because she had a skill set that most people within the financial industry don't have. And you see pivots happening all the time, like the CEO of Starbucks coming from a different industry, right? So this is why when people say, I don't think I should pivot, I don't know if my skills are going to be valuable, I'm not going to be competitive, it's not true, because it happens all the time. And you can look at the most famous CEOs out there and you'll see that it happens all the time. And the reason it happens is because they were able to package their experience. And so what you need to do in order to be able to do that successfully is you need to make a stranger understand your value before you explain it. Through your positioning, what should this market know you as? Through your resume and LinkedIn, do the proof and language reinforce your value and your position? And through evidence, are you choosing the achievements that prove that level that you're targeting? Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is reach, convert, and capture. So in order to increase your reach, you need to continuously expand beyond the network that you already have intentionally, not randomly. You need to keep getting in front of the right people, okay? And this is something that people are terrified of. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to cold call. I don't want to go to strangers and knock on doors. You're not supposed to really do that. And the advice you're getting that is overly scripted and feels salesy is why you don't enjoy doing it. But the way I teach my clients how to do it is literally how a business goes in front of prospects. If you think about it, there has to be one business that you bought from that reached out to you and you were like, I'm so happy that you reached out to me. This is exactly what I was looking for. I had someone recently who reached out to me and he wanted to help me set up my emails. And I've been thinking about doing that, but I didn't have the time, I didn't have the capacity. But because the way he communicated his services aligned with what I'm looking for, I did not find it annoying. And so I teach my clients how to have high level conversations with executives that are non salesy in order to increase their reach and build their network. And you don't always have to pitch, when you're networking. There are ways to actually build a relationship so that those executives trust you and might introduce you to someone who might actually need your help. Okay? Then we need to convert, and this comes through the interviews. When you're interviewing, can someone who just met you trust your judgment, understand your level, and take a leap of faith on you? That is exactly what we need to create when we're interviewing and sharing stories from our experience. And once they want you, can you defend the scope, title, and compensation that match the value you established? Because a lot of people get scared when they get the offer. They accept it even though it is not a good offer and it doesn't align with their value. I've had a lot of clients that I worked with where we negotiated the offer. One of my clients, we added $70,000 to her initial offer because of the way we created a narrative around her level, what she did in her previous world that would be an asset to the organization. Okay, so a stranger doesn't need to know everything about you. They need to believe the right things. They need to believe that you're a fit, you understand the problem we have. They need to believe you are at the right level. You already operate at the level we need. They need evidence that you've done something that proves it. They need to see proof of judgment. I trust how you think, and they need to see your value. Choosing you is worth the investment. So you can screenshot this. These are the 5 things that you need to show when you're marketing yourself, whether it's on your LinkedIn profile, your resume, any conversation. You need to have those 5 things. If you don't have those 5 things, they're not going to hire you. They may not even reach out to you. Okay? All right. This is how a network actually compounds. So you have a stranger who doesn't know you. Then they become a believer. They understand your value and trust you. Then an opportunity opens up where you're introduced, where they connect you with a hiring manager, or a hiring manager reaches out to you. They advocate for you, they vouch for you, and then your reach expands. So if you create that, all you need to do is create that in order to keep growing your network. This can happen right away and get you a job right away, or it can happen over time, and later on when you need it, it gets activated. So build a career that doesn't depend on who already knows you. Stop waiting to be recognized. Learn to create demand. If you already have the experience, the work is to take it to market correctly. The work is to know your career sweet spot, position and package it, get more reach, get more people finding you, and convert those opportunities into an offer. And this is exactly what I teach my clients in my programs. And this is how they land roles. I had a client who was a senior individual contributor. She was a senior product manager, and she landed a director role reporting directly to the CEO, added $70,000 to her previous salary. Following this exact approach, I have a client who was in policy. She wanted to pivot into tech. She landed an AI role, and she basically used this same process of getting strangers to trust her and ended up at Meta, added $100,000 to her previous salary. And I showed you a few examples, like my client Rashid, who basically landed at Amazon while still in Mexico, didn't have a network in Canada. So this process works regardless of your level, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of what country you're in. If you follow this process, you will be able to turn strangers into believers. It is a life skill. Okay, so if you feel that you are a high achiever and you deserve better opportunities, then let's have a conversation. Let's see how I can help you, because it is very annoying to be great at what you do, but have to deal with an organization that doesn't value you, feel trapped in a culture that doesn't align with who you are, be in a company that burns you out, makes you travel, makes you give up time with your family. Not worth it. And the solution to that is simply to get better opportunities. And how you do that is by creating more demand for yourself. Okay, so if you want to have a conversation with me and learn how to implement this go-to-market strategy, which is quite innovative, not a lot of career coaches teach you how to treat your career like an entrepreneur, then I invite you to book a call with me. How you do that is very simple. Go to my LinkedIn profile. I'm going to do a screen share right now. Let me just do this. Share screen. Okay, so underneath my name, there is a button that says book an appointment. You can click on that, and it's very simple. Scroll to book your career diagnosis, and then fill out this 2-minute intake so that I understand your goals and what is blocking you. And that way we can spend more of our conversation designing a plan for you in terms of how you can achieve your goal, whether it's a $200,000 role, $300,000 role, or beyond that. So if you are a senior individual contributor with more than 15 years of experience, or you are a director or a VP, and you know that you are a high achiever and you deserve more, then this call is a fit for you. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in your experience, if you think you need to take 1,000 certifications, then this is not a fit for you. Okay? All right. If you liked this concept, I would love it if you give me a like. This is the first time that I build this. Honestly, I've been teaching people how to treat their career like an entrepreneur for so many years, but this is the first time that I package it this way for you all to understand. So I'd love your feedback. I love if you give this a like. And of course, I really appreciate everyone who's been listening live. And, even if you're watching the replay, feel free to add a comment for me. Okay, thank you so much. And I hope you all have a great evening.